Intro music.
Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today, we're diving into the world of project management.
So, have you ever had one of those brilliant light bulb over your head ideas, but then you get hit with that feeling of, okay, now what? It's that overwhelming sense of, how do I actually do this? It happens whether you're planning a wedding, trying to launch a new product, or heck, even just organizing a big family vacation. That feeling of, where do I even start, is something we all know. Well, the answer, the real secret sauce to turning those big ideas into reality, is project management. So let's break down exactly how it all works.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics. What even is a project? From there, we'll follow its journey, from the very beginning all the way to completion. We'll also dig into the constant balancing act that every project manager has to deal with, some of the common challenges that always seem to pop up, and then we'll wrap up with the super important steps for closing a project out the right way.
Okay, so let's dive right in with the most fundamental question of all. What's the real difference between a project and just, regular old work?
The key word you really got to latch onto here is temporary. A project isn't like your daily, repeatable tasks. Nope, it's a one-time thing, a special mission, with a very clear start and a very clear finish line. It's designed to create something totally unique. It could be a new app, a big marketing campaign, or even a physical thing, like a bridge.
And this distinction is absolutely crucial to understand. So for example, designing a brand new car model, that's a project. It's a massive one-time effort. But the assembly line that just cranks out thousands of those exact same cars day in and day out, well, that's what we call operations. It's continuous, it's repeatable, and it is definitely not a project.
So who's leading this special mission? That's the project manager. And it's really tempting to just think of them as the boss, right? But honestly, the coach analogy is so much better. A good PM isn't just barking orders. They're guiding the team, they're clearing roadblocks out of the way, and they're using this whole toolbox of skills and knowledge to steer that little spark of an idea all the way across the finish line.
And when you actually look at the skills they need, you realize pretty quickly it's not just about spreadsheets and timelines. A great project manager has to be a bit of a diplomat, right? Navigating all the team politics. They have to be an amazing communicator, keeping everybody in the loop, a sharp analytical thinker who can solve tricky problems, and of course they've got to be a master organizer. It's one of those jobs where you have to wear a ton of different hats.
Okay, so here's something interesting. Every single project, and I mean every project, whether it's building a massive skyscraper or just planning a backyard party, it follows a surprisingly similar path. And that path, that journey, is called the project lifecycle. It's typically broken down into 4 really clear phases. So first up, you've got the beginning. This is where you figure out the why and the what. You define the core mission. Next, you jump into planning. This is where you get into the weeds, building your roadmap, hammering out a schedule, and setting the budget. Then comes the managing phase. This is where the rubber really meets the road. The team is actually doing the work, and the PM is there monitoring everything, making sure it all stays on track. And finally, you hit completion. And listen, this isn't just about handing over the final thing and saying we're done. It's about formally closing everything out and, maybe most importantly, learning from the whole experience.
All right, so through every single one of those phases, the project manager is basically a professional juggler. They're performing this constant balancing act. And this concept has a name. It's called the triple constraint. And trust me, it's one of the most fundamental ideas in all of project management.
That's exactly it. When you boil it all down, managing a project is just a constant, really delicate dance, a balancing act between all these competing demands.
So this whole thing is often visualized as the project management triangle. Think about it. On the 3 corners, you have scope, which is what work you're going to do. You've got time, how long you have to do it, and you've got cost, your budget. Now, here's the golden rule. You can't touch one of these without affecting the others. It's just impossible. So, say a client wants to add a bunch of new features. Well, that's a scope change, and that's absolutely going to demand more time or a bigger budget, or both. Or let's say you try to rush the timeline to finish early. You'll probably have to cut features from the scope or throw more money at the problem. And what's sitting right there in the middle of this whole balancing act, getting squeezed from all sides? Quality.
So if every project is this high-stakes balancing act, how do managers actually stay on the tightrope and not fall off? Well, they rely on 2 really important things: picking the right strategy right from the get-go and having a solid plan for when things inevitably go a little sideways.
Broadly speaking, you've got 2 main ways to tackle a project. The first is called waterfall.
It's super structured, very linear, you plan everything out up front, and you have to finish one phase completely before you can even think about starting the next. Think about building a house from a detailed blueprint. You don't put the roof on before the foundation is done, right? The other major approach is agile. This is what you use when the end result is a bit fuzzy, less defined. You work in these short adaptive cycles called sprints, building a little, getting feedback, and then adapting as you go. It's no wonder this method is so incredibly popular in the world of software development.
But here's the thing. It doesn't matter which path you choose, waterfall or agile. Every single project faces risks. These are all those what-ifs, right? All the potential little bombs of uncertainty that could completely throw your project off the rails. And a great manager knows their job isn't to somehow avoid all risks, because you can't. It's to anticipate them and have a plan to manage them.
And this is a really cool tool they use to do just that. It's called a risk matrix, and it's all about prioritizing threats. So, look, if you have a risk that's highly likely to happen and would have a huge catastrophic impact, well, that's a project killer. You have to drop everything and deal with that immediately. On the flip side, something with a super low chance of happening and a tiny impact if it does, yeah, you write it down, you document it, but you don't lose sleep over it. This simple tool is fantastic because it helps the project manager focus their precious time and energy on what truly matters.
All right, we've made it to the final phase, closing out the project. Now, this is a step that, let's be honest, often gets rushed. Everyone's tired, they just want to move on. But a truly successful closing is about so much more than just delivering the final product. It's about locking in all the lessons you learned along the way so that the next project can be even better.
Think of the closing process like a formal checklist. It's there to make absolutely sure no loose ends are left hanging. You go through and confirm that all the work is actually complete, you finalize all the payments, and officially close out contracts with your vendors and consultants. You get that all-important official sign-off from your key stakeholders. But, the most important step for the long-term health of the organization, it's documenting those lessons learned. All of this history, the good, the bad, the ugly, gets archived, creating this incredibly valuable knowledge base for the entire company.
And that's really where the power is. This lessons learned document, it's not about playing the blame game or pointing fingers. Not at all. It's about building what you might call institutional memory. It is a direct investment in the organization's future. It's how you make sure the next team to come along doesn't fall into the exact same traps. Ultimately, this final step is what takes raw individual experience and transforms it into powerful collective wisdom.
So there you have it. From just a vague idea floating around in your head to a finished, tangible reality, project management is the framework that builds the bridge. It gives you the tools to clearly define your goal, to plan your attack, to navigate all those challenges that are bound to pop up, and maybe most importantly, to learn from the entire journey. So go on, think about your next great idea, because now you have a roadmap to actually make it happen.